War. It is as old as humanity itself. Since the dawn of time, humans have struggled with their differences, resorting to violence as a means to assert dominance or protect what they hold dear. And over all these years, these battles have stained the pages of history with the blood of millions. Join us in this video as we tell you the stories of the 10 bloodiest wars in human history. You will witness the unimaginable horrors that unfolded on the battlefields. Number 10. Mongol Conquests. The Mongol Conquests, led by Genghis Khan and his successors, unleashed a wave of terror upon the world. Motivated by a thirst for power, they left a trail of devastation that is hard to even hear. The scale of their violence is simply horrifying. Approximately 40 million lives were tragically lost, which accounted for 11% of the world's population at that time. Consider the haunting city of Nashapur, where both survivors and fellow residents met a horrifying end. At that time, innocent individuals desperately sought refuge underground, hidden beneath rubble or amidst piles of lifeless bodies. Yet tragically, their efforts to escape were in vain, and they were all killed mercilessly. What sends shivers down the spine is the barbarity that follows. The Mongols constructed 3 pyramids of skulls, each representing each group: men, women, and children. Even the cats and dogs of the city were killed. Why? Because their emperor Genghis Khan wanted no survivors. And then, during the siege of Baghdad, up to 800,000 people were murdered. Libraries were destroyed and philosophers were killed. Tigris River there reportedly ran black with ink from the countless books that were thrown into it, and red from the blood of the dead bodies. And these are just a few examples of the destruction at the hands of the Mongols. There were thousands more. Number 9. Three Kingdoms War. The Three Kingdoms War, spanning from 220 to 280, was a period of intense conflict and fragmentation in ancient China. It emerged as 3 powerful leaders, Cao Wei, Shu Han, and Eastern Wu, who fought for control of the region, resulting in a 60-year prolonged and devastating struggle for supremacy. Before this war, China had a population of 54 million, but by 280, when the war ended and the region came under the leadership of the Wu Kingdom, the population had fallen to a mere 16 million. So, the death toll of this war is estimated to be around 38 million, a toll that reflects the scale of violence and suffering endured by the people of China during this era. 8. World War II. World War II, which started in 1939 and ended in 1949, was an absolute nightmare that shook the world to its core. In fact, it is known as the deadliest conflict in human history. The death toll, reaching a mind-numbing 70 to 85 million, reveals the horrifying scale of this global catastrophe. And then there was the Holocaust, where millions of innocent Jews were tragically murdered by the Nazis. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki also occurred during the Second World War, where over 200,000 lives were ended and cities were reduced to ruins. As the war waged on, the siege of Leningrad happened from 1941 to 1944, lasting for 900 brutal days. The city suffered relentless bombings, resulting in the deaths of over 800,000 civilians. The civilians also suffered starvation, leading to widespread cannibalism as people fought to survive. Want to hear something shocking? These people resorted to eating pets, leather, rats, and even the bodies of the deceased to keep themselves from dying of hunger. 7. Second Sino-Japanese War. The Second Sino-Japanese War went down from 1937 to 1945, and it was an era defined by chaos. With an estimated death toll ranging from 15 to 20 million, this war left a devastating mark on both China and Japan. These two countries engaged in fierce battles like the Battle of Shanghai, with a death toll of 8,300 soldiers in 5 weeks, and the Battle of Nanking, which resulted in 200,000 and 300,000 deaths on both sides. The notorious Rape of Nanking was one of the most messed up parts of it. After the Battle of Nanking, the Japanese forces went on a rampage. They massacred 150,000 war prisoners and 50,000 innocent Chinese civilians, and raped 20,000 women. It was a horrifying wave of violence. What's worse is that the Second Sino-Japanese War did not just affect China and Japan. It drew in other nations and set the stage for the tragic events of World War II. Number 6. Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic Wars took place in Europe from 1803 to 1815. With an estimated death toll of 3 to 6 million, the Napoleonic Wars were a series of wars between major European powers and France, who fought for European supremacy. During the Battle of Borodino, fought between Napoleon's forces and the Russian army, 75,000 lives were lost in a single day, and it did not stop there. The infamous Peninsular War saw the British and their allies engage in guerrilla warfare against Napoleon's troops in Spain, resulting in thousands of deaths over the course of 6 years. Napoleon's campaigns extended even beyond Europe, reaching as far as Egypt. His soldiers, known for their ferocity, executed thousands of war prisoners who were captured by Ottoman soldiers during the siege of Jaffa in 1799. This mass killing serves as a distressing reminder of the atrocities committed during the Napoleonic Wars. Number 5. World War I. World War I, which lasted from 1914 to 1918, was a massive global conflict that took over 20 million lives. Imagine soldiers piled up in muddy trenches, bearing constant bombardment and the terrifying threat of poisonous gas. The Battle of the Somme stands out as a haunting example of this, where in a single day, over 20,000 British soldiers lost their lives, were wounded, or went missing. Yet the suffering extended beyond the battlefield. Innocent civilians experienced the full weight of war's devastation. They endured bombing raids and also the cruel reality of starvation due to blockades. One shocking event was the sinking of the RMS Lusitania, a passenger ship. It was torpedoed, causing the deaths of 1,198 innocent people. Number 4. Vietnam War. The Vietnam War, which took place from 1955 to 1975, was a bitter conflict between North Vietnam and South Vietnam, with the US as its ally. The war stemmed from the division of Vietnam following the withdrawal of French colonial forces. Throughout this protracted war, relentless bombing campaigns destroyed Vietnam. Operation Rolling Thunder, a horrifying example, unleashed over 2 million tons of bombs, resulting in widespread devastation and the tragic loss of innocent lives. Millions of Vietnamese people were uprooted from their homes and forced to become refugees within their own country. Chemical defoliants like Agent Orange, which is often used to strip away the dense vegetation, was used on people. It caused long-lasting health issues on a massive scale. There is one haunting incident that vividly showcases the horrors of the Vietnam War: the My Lai Massacre. It was a deeply distressing event that occurred when American soldiers remorselessly took the lives of unarmed Vietnamese civilians. The estimates vary, but it is believed that somewhere between 400 innocent individuals fell victim to this terrible act. Number 3. Taiping Rebellion. In the mid-19th century, a storm of rebellion swept across China, plunging the nation into chaos. This was the Taiping Rebellion that started in 1850 and kept destroying the country until 1864. With a death toll estimated between 20 to 50 million lives, the Taiping Rebellion stands as the second deadliest conflict in human history. The scale of destruction was mind-blowing, with cities ravaged and countless lives lost in the fire and fury of battle. Imagine this: as many as 210,000 people died during the siege of Nanking alone. The rebels, driven by their millenarian vision, brought about a reign of terror marked by brutal massacres and violence. Amidst the chaos, famine and disease spread like wildfire, further claiming the lives of millions. During those dreadful days, the soldiers unleashed a 3-day frenzy of slaughter and destruction, furthering the number of deaths. Some even say that the death toll reached 100 million after the famines and mass killings. Number 2. 30 Years' War. Ignited by religious and political tensions, the 30 Years' War raged across Europe from 1618 to 1648. The death toll of the war was estimated to range from 4.5 to 8 million lives lost. This war unfolded in 4 phases. It began with the Bohemian phase, characterized by the Bohemian Revolt against Habsburg rule. The conflict then transitioned into the Danish intervention, as Denmark sought to challenge Habsburg's power. Next came the Swedish invasion, led by Gustavus Adolphus, which saw the tide turn in favor of the Protestant forces. Finally, the French phase witnessed France's active involvement and the war's expansion beyond religious boundaries. An example of war's brutality was shown in the massacre of Magdeburg in 1631. The city was mercilessly sacked, and an estimated 20,000 innocent civilians were brutally murdered. Number 1. Russian Civil War. In the wake of the Russian Revolution in 1917, the Russian Civil War erupted, which tore the nation apart. The conflict was fueled by deep ideological divisions, with the Bolshevik Red Army seeking to consolidate power against various counter-revolutionary forces known as the Whites. The war witnessed merciless violence, with atrocities committed by both sides. 8 million lives were lost altogether. During the Russian Civil War, the Red Army carried out the Red Terror, where they executed people they considered enemies without mercy. They set up special courts that quickly judged and put to death thousands of individuals seen as counter-revolutionaries or threats to the new regime. They had secret police, like the Cheka, who arrested and executed anyone suspected of opposing them. The Whites, in response, used their own campaign of terror. They used brutal tactics, targeting and punishing anyone they believed supported the Bolsheviks. They carried out violent attacks on Jewish communities and committed other atrocities, causing widespread suffering and around 100,000 deaths. As the war raged on, the people also endured severe hardships, famine, disease, and widespread devastation. So this war was a horrifying time, with innocent people caught in the middle facing unimaginable cruelty. These acts of terror show the dark side of human nature during times of war. So, after hearing about these 10 bloodiest wars in human history, which war do you find the most chilling and horrifying? Let us know in the comments below. If you learned something new today, give this video a big thumbs up, and make sure to hit that subscribe button to watch more fascinating historical content like this. See you in the next one. Goodbye.